Welcome to The Decision from Nashville EO, where you will hear the rest of the story after tough decisions were made by entrepreneurs who faced adversity and lived to tell about it.
Welcome to The Decision, EO Nashville's podcast, by entrepreneurs, for entrepreneurs, talking about the heat of the battle when we're out there making decisions, taking risks, taking advantage of opportunities. Here to tell stories, learn from our members, and with us today, one of my own forum mates, Mr. Marty Reed. Welcome, Marty.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad to be here.
With me, as always, Mr. Robert Hartline, co-host.
Good to see you again. It's been a while.
It has been a minute.
Yeah, it has been a minute or two.
We're back in the saddle again. Like
together
Aerosmith.
Again.
Yeah. Love it. Marty, you have a plethora of things that we could talk about today.
I've got a few stories for you.
In full disclosure, Marty and I have been in forum together for 16 years. So I've heard all the crazy. He's heard all mine. So
Yep.
How have you chosen, sir?
Oh, which story to talk about?
Yeah.
Well, no, I'd just like to say thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here. And, I always talk about, like, you have heard all the crazy because, like, forum is where you go to put your crazy. It's like, oh, these people can handle that stuff. So I've told a lot of different stories over the years. And, I sold my business just this past year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Back in September. So that's a long time coming. I first started trying to sell the business in 2012.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a long time coming. Overnight success. I've had the business since, arguably 99, officially 2003, because I had to actually form the S Corp to do that. And then over the years, just lots of different iterations of the business. And so,
first off, how did you come across EO in your journey?
Well, so funny story. So one of my early customers. So my business now is statewide platforms for teacher effectiveness. So we build big software, but I've done a lot of different things over the years. I had an IT business. I had software. I had security business. We did AV for a while, but it ended up that software made the most sense. But in the IT days, one of my customers was Andy Bailey.
Oh, wow.
And so, and Andy's a talker. He loves to chat it up with whoever's in the room. And so started talking to him and heard about this thing called EO. And he's like, "You're not ready yet." He's like, and I was like, "What?
Who is this asshole telling me I'm not ready yet?
Telling me I'm not ready yet. Screw you, man."
Okay, I want in.
I want in, right?
Yeah.
I want in. And so this was like 2006-ish, I guess. And so I was like, "Man, well, how do I get in?" He's like, "Well, I'll let you know when you're ready." And I was like, "God, fuck you, dude." But, it's Andy, so you just roll with the punches. And so, so a couple years later, I was like, okay, now I know why I couldn't be in then, right? I was just me and 3 other people. I was like, I wasn't dealing with the problems that you have to deal with in EO. And so finally I got to that point and I was like, "Hey, Andy, I think I'm ready." He's like, "Yep, for sure. Like, let's get you chat with Joe Friedman. Yeah, sorry. Chat with Joe Friedman. And, this was whenever EO was 60 people.
Yeah.
Now we're 350 people.
398.
398.
Whoa.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's what's listed in the directory, though. I don't know if
Wow.
that's all. I think it's all members. Though.
Wow.
Whenever I was president, we just crested 300. I think that was right. So anyway, I met with those 2 guys and they're like, "Well, here's the deal. There's other IT businesses that are joining EO, and there's actually some folks on the board. They're like, we don't need any more IT businesses in EO." And they're like, "But we got you. Don't you worry about it." And so got in and then went to first forum training. Jackson was actually not there. And so went through training and then EO came to us and said, "Hey, we've got one more we think should join your forum, but he's in IT And so Marty, you basically get to pick. Like, if you want him, cool. If you don't, that's fine too.
Well, that's such power.
Yeah. I felt pretty.
And
It's like just coming in and get to make decisions. That's amazing, right?
And kick someone out if you need to.
If I need to kick him out, I don't even have to start. And so, yeah, we went to dinner, and I was like, well, what you're doing now, I'm trying to get out of. So cool. You joined us, and it was a great decision. Obviously, we've had a great partnership, like in Forum, for many, many years. We've rode the wild horses through the Forum experience.
What did you feel like you were missing that made EO seem like a fit for you?
Well, so the year that I joined EO, I won a very large multi-million-dollar contract with the state, and I got sued for $110 million at the same time for winning said contract. And so that was about, I knew I was going to go bid on this contract, and I knew there was going to be some crazy stuff that happened by bidding on this contract. And so that was the summer before I won that contract. And so like the third meeting I was like, so here's the deal. I just got sued for $120 million.
Wow.
And everybody's in the room's like, well, who the fuck is this dude? and I was, so it was really an interesting scenario.
Was the Forum experience doing the deep dive, was that helpful during that time?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was such a timely opportunity. Like, I felt like I was put there at the exact right time that I needed to be there. Because who else is going to understand like that number, right? I mean, if you think about like all the people that I regularly hung out with, and you say, I got sued for $120 million, like their eyes pop out of their head, they pick them up off the floor, and then they go, I have no idea how to talk about it.
So how did you navigate that? What was the decision that you had? It was like how to fight it, or you to let go of it? Like what was the two option A, option B?
Well, so after I received said lawsuit, I called my attorney, and he was like, well, this is where the big boys play, so you got to put your big boys panties on and get to work. And I was like, all right, I still don't know what that means. I was 28 at the time, I think. So still running and gunning, but the decision was I had to plow through and not lose $120 million, right? Like, I had the choice of like, okay, turning over, I could give up the contract, the lawsuit would go away, nobody would, no harm, no foul, everything's fine. Or, man up and just do what I knew I could do and take it on. And so being able to bring that to Forum, and like, of course, nobody at that stage just joining EO had any idea what that looked like. But being able to say it out loud, super powerful. Like, and I'm 100% believer, like anything that you can say out loud, it has immediately less power over you. Right. And so just being able to go in that room and say this crazy stuff, and these guys just, no expression, don't react, all of those Ellie Bird kind of key instructions that really matter, because those guys just sitting there going, and not telling me how crazy it is, but hey, I got sued one time. It was a mess. Bad things happen, but ultimately you just kind of get through it.
So how did that navigate?
So it was actually really funny because the suit was filed in the wrong jurisdiction. And so we went to the location of the suit filing, and I had an attorney there. And so we worked all night prepping for this case next morning. And at the end of the night, they were like, okay, but there is one thing we could do. We could say this is the wrong venue for this case because this is not where the violation of the contract occurred. And we could just walk out. And so he's like, so we'll do that first. So my attorney in this location, we walk up to the courtroom, and the opposing attorney is there. And it's a small town, so they knew each other. And my attorney, walks up, hey, how you doing, Fred? And he's like, oh, hey, Tom, who's asking you here to kick today? And he's like, well, I hope it's yours. And that opposing attorney's face just went white because he knew he was up a creek. And so we literally walked in and we walked out. And then we mediated it over the next 3-4 months. And I didn't pay $120 million.
Ah, okay. So it navigated away.
He could have.
I could. Yeah, right.
Could have wrote a check, you know?
Yeah,
It's
just stroke a check. Yeah, I mean, who doesn't have 120 just sitting there? But no, it just literally, just going through that motion. But that attorney's face in that moment was just priceless. But yeah, it just kind of navigated away. But it was a lot of being able to just come back and be like, okay, now, do I have to go to court? I don't know. Do you have to go to court every time they call a hearing? Evidently not. You can just send your attorney. And unless you're being called to the stand, you don't have to go do that. And that was just a huge relief for me that I could just have my bulldog attorney go handle this for me. And the depositions were crazy of themselves. But ultimately, it was, hey, pay this much money over a period of time, and you're all set.
Oh, wow.
So I was in the right. I wasn't. The lawsuit was ridiculous, but
if you're in business, you're going to be sued.
You're going to be sued, right?
You just cannot get away with it.
Yeah,
it's just almost nearly impossible.
Yeah,
especially if you have employees.
Yeah, I mean, it's never an if; it's a when, and how much.
Yeah.
So I got the big one out of the gate, so that was good.
Mm. So past that, you get in EO and you're growing your business. Is your business growing at the time, or what's the pace of your life?
So I was that year I was number 3 in Nashville on the Inc. 500, and I was number 53 on the Inc. 500 that year.
Wow!
So pretty good pace. I was doing 100-hour work weeks. I had a newborn or newish born at home. So all that. And then I joined EO, and first forum retreat, they're like, all right, so we're going to go Cancun for a week for this retreat. And, my wife's like, do what? You're going to go with 7 dudes to Cancun for a week.
That you just met.
And you're going to leave me here. Yeah, that's what's happening, evidently. So,
wow.
Furthermore, I'm going to do it for the next 16 years.
Yes, I'm going to do it for the next 16 years, and you can come with us occasionally, once every 8 years or so.
Wow.
But yeah, it was a definite change. But whenever I got back from that retreat, she was like, and she spent a day with me. She was like, "All right, I'll never push back on you going on retreat ever again."
Did you come away with like a lot of ahas?
I mean, I think our retreat was hugely impactful because we had another forum mate that had been in EO San Francisco for many years. And so he really came in and said, this is how you do this stuff. And when we go on retreat, you do work. You have fun, but you do work and you really dig in. And so I'd say the ahas, yes, but more is I just felt closer to these people in my forum that I could actually trust them in a way that I didn't trust people. I'd had lots of different business partners over the years, that will screw you one way or the other. It's just a matter of how big it is and how hard they're going to pound you with it. But this group of guys and still guys, we're one of the few sad that we don't have any women in our forum, but at the same time, it's been great, group of entrepreneurs to kind of have that peer group and have that safe place where you can say anything. And the judgment, is absent. Yeah. And I just never had a room like that in my life, right? It's just a very unique experience.
Yeah. And you're able to talk about, obviously, things that you can't talk about at home.
That's right.
Because you don't want to bring that stress on to...
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's too much. What's great about my wife is she's been in it with me from the beginning. We've been together for 23 years. And, whenever she joined Spousal Forum and she got asked, how do you deal with him being an entrepreneur and everything? She's like, I don't know any different. I don't know him as something else. So this is how we operate.
Yeah. Was this your first business?
Second business. So I had another business. Back in 98, I built a website for artists and musicians and writers to put their stuff on the web, and then they could collaborate. So we had some virtual rooms, we had art galleries, all back 98, 99. And so Josh Newman was a partner, Bethany Newman's Statement, also an EO member. He was a partner in that, and we ground it out for, probably 3 years. We had 30,000 users, and I ended up shutting that down and buying out all the partners because I was getting busy with things that were making money. Now, you think about a social network in 98, 99, you're in the wrong city, brother.
Mhm.
That's the trick. You are in the wrong city because we had some pretty cool stuff way back when. So that was my first business, but I ended up buying all those guys out and shutting it down. It was a couple of us didn't speak for a number of years, but now we're all back together.
Oh, that's good.
We're all good buddies again. But it was just right out of college, like in college, building that business. And then I was running this one on the same side. And then I've had other businesses over the years.
Sorry, everybody. I know too much. I just immediately laugh.
Well, why do we do that? We do start things all the time. We get bored and we just start something new.
Yeah. Well, you get like complacent, I think, right? I think you get this great idea and you say, well, I've got this thing running well over here. I've got people in place that should be able to handle it. So let me go spend some time over here because I just can't help myself. Like my next kind of bigger business that I started outside of RANDA was a cloud services business. So we did cloud desktops for companies. And this was 2005, 2006. And did it inside RANDA. It was quite good. I mean, we did $30,000, $40,000 a month in revenue inside RANDA. And then I tried to carve that out into its own business called CoreBank. And I thought about building a data center for it. Thought about all these things. And so I'd take this to my forum. So again, we're burning $50,000 a month because we're like, okay, we got to make this thing go because it's bringing in $45,000, $50,000 a month in revenue, but burning 50 in cash, and then the ISP goes down 3 times in 6 weeks for like a big period of time, and people were hosting their entire desktops, and they're calling like, what do we do? Like we can't. This is unsustainable, and so I ended up having to like fire the president of the company. Basically disband 16 people that were working there in a day. And just like, hey, it's got to end today because it's some pretty prominent customers on that platform that could do some pretty nasty things if they wanted to.
Right. Wow.
But yeah, we were at the mercy of the ISP because their contract just said, well, if we go out, we'll do our best to get back online. It's like, well, do your best. That's shit.
Was that a blessing in the end of the day?
100%. 100% is a blessing.
Yeah.
And I brought it back to the forum, and I think they actually all together said, thank God. I think they all said, like, wow, that thing needed to be shot. I'm glad
what could have made you have that decision other than disaster?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. Because like Eric said, I'm out on the edge. I'm on the bleeding edge, and I'll bleed for a long time to try to get over that hump. Because I know it's like that, 3 feet from gold,
yep.
Right? So like you're just 3 feet from that line of super cool stuff that you could go get. But I'll say over the years, like taking stuff back to forum and talking things out and saying things out loud. And being able to say, okay, well, that invalidates my thesis. Like, we stop before you start. And I think after that particular company, I got better at, oh yeah, these guys were right, kind of from the beginning. Like the questions that they were asking were kind of the right questions I should have been asking myself, and I should have been answering them honestly. And so I think since then, I've had a number of other companies that came up and went down real fast. So, I didn't spend $500,000 learning a lesson again. I didn't spend, another $600,000 learning a lesson again. I learned it a lot cheaper. And so I think that's the one thing, like taking it back to Forum is like, all right, as I look around this room and I see the people and I see your faces and I see like the questions that you're asking, I know the questions that I need to ask myself. And if I answer those honestly, I'll probably make a pretty good decision.
What's another situation you've brought to Forum for help?
Let's see. Those were some of the big areas. I'd say, selling my business, over the years, I've been to the table multiple times, like 3 or 4 times. And every time they were walking, right alongside and saying, why does that structure work like that? Right. For the first one, it was like, okay, they're going to, you're getting up to the last few weeks of the deal. They come back to me and say, hey, we're going to bring in a co-CEO for the company. And, you got to think about how bad that sucks. And like, and bringing that type of stuff back and they're going like, look, we believe in you. Frankly, like this was a conversation, like we believe in the skills that you have. So whatever you decide to do, you do it. But know that we believe that you can do whatever. Like Eric was saying earlier, like, how many people call me a savant? Not many. But I love it whenever they do, because you can internalize that and say, okay, well, if these guys, if they believe in me, then do I need to go do this deal that looks like shit? Probably not. So it's decisions like that, like where you're just like, okay, pushing. All signs point to do the deal, except for a little bit of common sense whenever you say it out loud to people that are in the same boat, that are like, oh, I've been to the table before. I know what that looks like. I've seen that happen. I've tried
that before.
Yeah. I've played that card before, and here's what happened to me.
Yeah.
And so, selling the business was definitely a place where I could come, bring different scenarios back and walk through like, okay, I have 3 different ways I can go do this. Let me say them out loud. Eric's got an experience with selling his business early on. Another guy's got an experience selling the business, taking, minority positions, and walking through all those help, streamline that option, and then just kind of bearing down and focusing on that, and then being able to go out and execute. But yeah, where else could I take that? I don't have a place.
Yeah.
I don't have a place.
So you just recently sold.
I did.
How did that navigate?
So it was about a year long process that I was going through. Just kind of, I had taken the playbooks from the other 2 times and I'd rebuilt my business. So I had fired half the company, which was about 75 people. So I fired about 36 of those people, and then really focused on what we were good at. Because from that playbook, from that PE, they said, hey, here's the things that suck about your business, right? This is why we're bringing in a co-CEO. This is why we're doing this. This is why we're doing this. So, okay, cool. Take that playbook, go back, redo that. And then, oh, wait, we have solid growth. This is what capital likes. They like these trend lines. Let's follow these trend lines. And then just getting in the right room with the right people. Like the deal that I finally did, I didn't talk to him for 6 months or 8 months. I literally had a 20-minute conversation with them outside of a conference, and I had a deal sheet like a week later. So like the right deal comes whenever the right deal is supposed to come in my at least in my limited experience of kind of going to the table and going back again and back.
When you got an offer, how long did it take to get to close?
So I got the offer in April and we closed in September.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean,
was that stressful?
Diligence is just a pleasure. But, again, kind of thinking through the structure, right? What are the key pieces that you want in this deal that are really valuable to you? And then bringing back to Forum and saying, hey guys, like, this is what it's going to look like. How does that hit you? If you were in my shoes, how would you think about that? And those reflections from all the different perspectives, super valuable, just to like hear the other voices, hear myself say it out loud, hear myself repeat back to them their feedback, which is another thing we do every presentation is like, okay, what'd you get out of that? Super fun because the person getting the feedback or, getting the stories never hears a thing you want them to hear, but they hear the thing that they need to hear. Right. And so that was pretty cool. But being able to go workshop that with Forum and be like, okay, like, I think I'm going to sign this. And they're like, okay, well, what does that mean for you? Like, what does that mean for you long term? Okay, I got to think about that. Let's think about what the levers are.
What did it mean for you?
So in the transaction, I took some cash. I rolled quite a bit of equity, and then now I'm chief product officer of a much larger company versus a CEO of a much smaller company. So my company was 27 people. Whenever we joined this company, it wasn't much bigger from a people standpoint, but revenue standpoint is about 4 or 5 times our size. So we joined a 100 person company, so 130 people. And now, what was really interesting was they hired a new CEO the week before we closed our deal, which was super awesome. And it actually worked out really well because I like him, and
that's great.
You got to understand, like, the people at the table. If you bring in a private equity CEO, they're gonna have certain skill set, and that's what I told my team when we introduced him to the team. I was like, look, if I could do what he can do, then we wouldn't be here. We would be off. We would have done something completely different. But
you've been acquiring other businesses.
Yeah, exactly. We've been acquiring, but now, I've got a couple of businesses that we're looking to acquire under us and blow and go, and you get to learn new things from a CEO that's done exits 7 times.
Would you say this navigating, working now under this other firm, you're learning a lot more than you would have if you'd stayed going the way you were going?
So much more.
Yeah.
I mean, so much more. Just being open to learn, though, I think is a big part of it, right? Like, if you go into a deal and you say, well, I'm just doing it for the check, hindsight's 20/20. But if I'm doing it just for the check, you need to look real hard at it because there's more to it. There's so much more to it. And so I'm learning so much more, and I'm learning so much more for the next thing.
Right.
I've got a loaded question for you.
Okay.
What was your favorite part of the deal?
What was my favorite was the closing call. And the closing call was about 5 minutes. So all the work had been done, all the wires and everything had been done. And so it was literally like the attorneys on the call and the principals. Do you approve? Yes. Do you approve? Yes. All right. Release the funds. Rock and roll. That's it. That was it. And
no cheerleaders or bands or celebrations.
And no longer responsible for P&L.
And no longer responsible for payroll. No more payroll. No more worrying about payroll every 2 weeks.
What was that a relief?
Oh, huge relief. I mean, because my business hugely cyclical. So millions of dollars of revenue, but that revenue comes in seasonal
Waves.
chunks. And so my story in our secretary's notes, one particular month every year was, cash really sucks. Don't know how I'm going to make payroll. Every year. But hearing that out loud is like, okay, well, and even after we did the deal and I brought that, I was talking to Forum and I was like, I don't feel any different. And then that day was the day that he goes back and goes, well, 1 year ago you said, really sucks. I don't know how I'm going to make payroll. And 3 years ago he goes, really sucks. I don't know how I'm going to make payroll. And I immediately go, okay, well, I guess actually I'm really happy. I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Is life just less stressful that you don't have that burden?
It's different. It's a different type of stress.
Yeah.
So, like, talk about stress responses. Like, I have physical stress responses, like things on my face that pop up, and and so not having all that is pretty great. It's new types of stress, though. I mean, you actually have to listen to somebody and then do what they tell you to do.
Yeah, I got a boss now.
Yeah, I got a boss now. But I think like being EO president was actually a good training.
When did that happen? Did that happen What year was that?
So I was EO president during the COVID.
Yeah.
During COVID.
Oh, that's kind of wild.
Yeah, it was exciting. So Bethany Newman, she was president, and then we did the cutover. So, everything shut down March. Well, the cutover was April. So I just get this bag of like virtual garbage. It's like, hey, here's a flaming pile. See what you can do with that. But it was actually perfect for me. Like I was forced to do all new things. I was forced to get the team to do all new things and lean into new things. And, we came up with some pretty cool ideas like the EO exchange and those types of things that were all virtual. But navigating all the people that you have to deal with as EO president. It's a unique experience. And then navigating them during COVID.
Extra special.
Extra special.
What would be a reason? How did you grow as a president, and why would one want to go down that rabbit hole?
So I think it's just the same thing with like the business purchase. Like as president, you lead leaders, right? You think you lead leaders as a business owner. You don't. You lead leaders whenever you're president of an organization where all you have is leaders of organizations. And it was really interesting because I feel I'm fairly good at negotiation. I'm fairly good at navigating people. And just to be caught in situations where it's like, okay, I have pulled out every tool in the toolbox and none of them worked. What am I going to do now to deal with this situation? And to be able to train in real time, because I'm all about kind of training on the job. Just let's go do it and figure it out. And I'd say like EO president gives you so many tools, and it really 100% helped me navigate the world that I'm in now, dealing with folks in private equity, dealing with other, leaders, type A, leaders of organizations, leaders that have led larger organizations, and how to navigate those folks in the right way for all of us to be successful. I think that was hugely valuable. And I don't know how else you learn that other than by doing it somehow.
Yeah. It's different when you're paying the people to do the work, and then you're suddenly trying to get people that aren't getting paid to do stuff.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get the leader you need. And that's what we got with Marty that year. I told him that multiple times.
Thank you.
Bethany was like, I'm out.
Yes. She's like, good luck with that.
I was rolling off the board. Bye. And he, like you described, he did all the things that made it actually work. And what was your renewal rate that year?
I think it was 94 to 95%, which is like exactly where you want to be.
And most chapters were experiencing
86.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot less.
Average was 86, and we were 94.
Wow.
Now, I will say Samira Lowe is a major reason why that happened.
EO Yoda.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to get her on this podcast. I mean, you know how hard that is to get her.
She's not going to do it unless she wants to do it.
She's a kingmaker. She's not a king.
By the way, it's May 10th. It's her birthday. This is when we're recording.
Happy birthday.
Samira.
Happy birthday, Samira. I texted you earlier.
Marty, thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate all that you've given EO and how we have all learned from you. So thank you.
I appreciate it.
Now, if you are an entrepreneur here in Nashville, Tennessee, and you are feeling a little bit alone and you're looking to join a group of other entrepreneurs that are living life, growing and learning at the same time, you may want to come check out EO Nashville. You can go to eonashville.com and learn more about a nearly 400-person chapter that is actually the largest in the United States, right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Please check us out at eonashville.com and hope you have a fantastic rest of your week.
Thanks for listening to the Decision Podcast by Nashville EO. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.